In here. It's the pod. It's the PURVCAST. Brand new name. Partially a brand new cast, probably. We've got my beautiful wife in here. I say brand new cast, really. Just excited to branch out into something that I really want to do, which is something I'm going to have to learn how to do, which is I really want to start interviewing and talking to professionals from all walks of life, all professions.
Are you
And
calling me a professional?
yeah, I'm calling you a professional. You're a professional in a couple different fields, but you're not supposed to talk until I tell people who you are.
I'm the wrong
That's
person for the
podcast interruption.
podcast.
Well, welcome to Pervcast. Fit right in if you know how to interrupt. No, I'm kidding. But one thing I really want to start doing is, like I said, talking to professionals and people in different fields that do different things, and honestly just picking their brain and just learning and recording, because I'm always fascinated about new fields of work and different things like that. And I'd like to learn as much as I possibly can. And I think that there's a lot of people out there like me who see somebody doing something and they go, what do they know that I don't? And how fascinating must that be to know those things? And I know that in my line of work, I've learned a lot of interesting things. I know, and just starting this and doing this, I've learned a lot of interesting things that if I passed on to other people, or when I have passed them on to other people, they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool. That's awesome." So there is no better place to start than with my beautiful wife, who is a professional in multiple fields. She has spent many years as an RN in various aspects of medicine, and has worked in different rooms in the hospital and aspects of healthcare altogether, and encompassed a pretty wide berth there. And then as of just the last couple of years, has just kind of exploded into professional photography, done an amazing job there. And so it's pretty awesome to get to sit down with her, and I'm so excited to introduce her as not just my wife, but as a professional photographer and the owner of Rose and Monroe Photography. And we had a discussion about headphones. Were we going to wear them? Were we not going to wear them? And I settled on, you look really hot with headphones, so let's do it.
Thanks.
Welcome in, babe.
Thanks. That was a nice intro.
Yeah, well, I'm stoked to have you in, and I hope that we do a lot more of this as a podcast, and hopefully me and you do a lot of this, together as kind of a tag team in some of the different podcasts, various professionals and learning.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I've become fascinated with the last, like, maybe 3 to 4 years, is I'm like, man, I kind of crave learning. Like, there's more to learn about my line of work and my job, but I'm not learning. There's not as much to learn as there once was. And, I think that that's part of my fascination with some of this podcast stuff, and doing this is I'm like, something I listen to all the time, and I just developed like a eagerness to learn. And then this was like the field where it kind of dropped into, which, it's been so much fun too. It's such a fun thing to learn. But in saying that, kind of brings me into actually my first question for you in all this, which is, what was the driving motivation between your run into professional photography, but then other people that know you and have known you know that for years you have just like busted your butt to run into all different kinds of professions or side gigs, or entrepreneurial opportunities, and I don't know what I think fired you off in those directions. And I think I know the answers to probably most all these questions, but there's a lot of people that that don't. So let's make it official, put it on record.
Yeah, I think that I think I think it's multifaceted. I think because I saw my dad working a ton growing up. Like he never had just one job. And I don't think that either of us have ever just had one job in our marriages, or like ever since I entered the workforce, like even
Marriage.
marriage. But I think that I think I like having the autonomy around something. I think that I have, when I'm passionate about something, there is a fire behind that. Like when I did the sensory kits, I used to make sensory kits that had like homemade Play-Doh and tactile items, and there was all kinds of benefits to kids that it could benefit them. And I started that because of Charlotte's seizures. And I was afraid that she wouldn't meet developmental milestones, so sensory play was one of the ways that she could do that. And so there was like a mission behind it. And I feel like when there's a mission behind something that I do, that's when I get really gung-ho about it. Unfortunately, that like takes so much time to make that homemade Play-Doh and like source your items. And it's just really like it's not cost effective. So I do miss like that. And I still have a passion behind sensory play. But then like with photography, it's in my family too, but I like never thought I could be good at it. But I think the feeling that I get of making other people feel good about themselves, like families seeing the pictures for the first time of like, oh my gosh, that's me, or boudoir photography and being like, I look like that. Like women that feel like their bodies have been destroyed from motherhood and they're like, whoa, like I'm still there. I'm still in there. I just look a little bit different. And there's like a little more pieces to my puzzle that tell my story. You know, like my stretch marks aren't something that society looks down on, but they like, that tells the story of like my children being housed in me. And so I think I get fired up from educating others on the benefits behind things. You know, like it's not just family pictures to hang up on the wall. Like these are heirlooms that you're passing down to your children. You know, sensory plate. Like these are kits that are helping, you know, your children develop these like neural connections that millions and millions of neural connections that they only develop within a couple of years of life. And so, but yeah, with photography, I think it just really stuck. I'm a people person. I have got the gift of gab. I like making people feel good about themselves. I'm like, you can put me in any kind of scenario. And so I think that's kind of why I ran headfirst into it. And because I'm passionate about, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, you know, like I want to be my own boss. I want to be able to go where my girls are and be where they are and raise them. And so that I'll do whatever I need to do in order to be able to do that and be in charge of that. And you saying that you, about like learning and stuff like that, like it's so interesting. I will be interested to see like in the coming years, especially with Charlotte starting school and all the things that she'll be learning, like just at 4 years old, how much more peaked your like interests of like learning what other people do and like the why behind everything will become.
Right. Which I mean,
you've always been like that.
Yeah,
but
I've always had that. I think honestly, I'll be like fascinated and stoked to relearn those things with her.
Yeah, I think you will.
Being, 30 years removed from all that. Honestly, I think that'd be like such an awesome, underrated aspect of homeschooling is relearning so much of the schooling, that we had back whenever we were young. And, I think that's, I don't know, the older I get, I think that I miss learning, which as a kid, I never thought I ever would have said that.
I think we take it for granted when we're kids. Like, it's just like a box that we have to check off and we don't realize that like what a gift it is to learn.
Yeah.
Like what other countries don't get to learn things like.
Yeah. And I think that you view learning as having a checkered flag at the end of it, which having the high school and then like the pressure to go to college has kind of sets that checkered flag at the end of the race, which is like, oh, you've done your learning, time to go live the rest of your life. And then you get out there and you're like, daggum, I miss learning. I'd like to learn new skills, new knowledge, have some more, just information to regurgitate and throw out there at the, company get together or the family gathering or whatever it might be, whatever it is, it just like it tickles me pink to learn. I'm excited to relearn because after 6 concussions, I've got a lot to relearn. When our little girls learn, it's a cool thing to get back into, and that's going to be a really cool thing to start.
Yeah.
you know?
And I think the relationships that you'll make alongside them too, like I think that'll be like another level of relationship unlocked, like relearning something alongside them, like you relearning it and them learning it for the first time.
Yeah. Both of us, well, actually, probably me being excited about it, but maybe my excitement helping to drive their motivation
Yeah.
about it, you know?
Well, and I think you saying that too, like maybe makes us think about how we need to present learning to them. That, you know, it isn't a checker flag. It's not about just getting to graduation. It's not about getting your degree. It's more about, you know, then once you finish school, okay, like now what?
Just making sure you're on the right setting. Sorry, had to check a setting. We don't have a producer. I am producer, so
Producer, creator.
yeah, I had to do a little live
Host.
check, and I'm sorry to interrupt. That was a heck of a thought. Just send it if you can.
I don't even know where I was at. But just not seeing learning as a finish line and something that you need to complete, but something that you can learn about the people that you meet, their culture. You can learn about history, you know, like why do people have certain opinions about things? Like what's the history behind that opinion? You know, I think in today's day and age, everyone has an opinion about something, but why do they have it? Not just because social media told them to. They should have it because, well, you know, it goes down the line generation. So I think just always I think if you're always willing to learn and be curious, it's less easy. Like it's not as easy to be offended or so sensitive to things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of that too. And I think a lot of that not being so like sensitive to things, like environmentally sensitive too, I think is one thing that I've learned just in my line of work is like, how does energy get to my house? I appreciate it when it's here. And then how does waste leave my house? You know, is one of those things that until I got into the field that I'm in, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Zero idea. And so, you know, all along the way for just so many years, it was so fun because it was like, what?
Yeah.
That's how it happens?
Right.
That's how it happens? You know, but then also you can, you know, learning about other people, you know, that's their culture. That's this, that's that. That's cool, you know? So, now that being said, talking about learning, obviously whenever you jumped into, well, everything that you've jumped into, obviously with nursing school, you went through 2 years of intensive school and had a program and teachers and books and all these things to get you fired off and headed in the right direction and to take you from step A to step Z on being a no knowledge person to a nurse. You know, but with your other endeavors, the other things that you've done, especially with the way that you've, you know, blown up your photography and, there's obviously a lot to learn, not just about light and times of day and angles and shadows and things of that nature, but constantly evolving technology, whether it be, you know, cameras or storage systems or computers or programs and all this various stuff. Were you stoked on learning all this stuff? Were you excited about it? Or you were kind of like, yo, I just got to get this under my belt so that I can get to like, you know, where I want to be, you know? Because it was like once you decided that you wanted to do it, it was kind of like, you might as well have just like time traveled to the end of knowing how to do it, because it was, that's where you were going to end up, whether or not you enjoyed the process of learning it.
Yeah.
Did you?
I enjoy the process of learning it now. I think in the beginning it was painful and it was frustrating because I am not tech savvy in the least bit. Like computers are not my thing. Cameras, like learning about aperture and f-stop and exposure, and like it was not like clicking with me. You know, like when somebody tells you like directions or whatever and it does not make sense, it was not making sense for me. And then when I would edit, I would know what I wanted it to look like, but it was not looking like that.
Couldn't get it there.
No. And so, but in doing that, it was frustrating for that first little bit, but I did invest in that mentorship, which I think has was the best thing I could have done for my business, because it kind of laid everything out and said, like, here's your guidebook. And the mentorship I'm in is really good. But once I got that, and it was like, oh, it was like the aha moment, like the light bulb went off. That was when it became fun for me and when it became exciting. And now I enjoy learning, and I enjoy learning how other photographers do things, or how they shoot this, or, everything doesn't have to be in focus. Things can be blurry, and that's artistic now, like it is.
And if you're photographing ugly people, blurry's better. You know what I'm saying?
None of my clients are ugly.
This video's out of focus. Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, just on my side. It's all good. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, I don't know.
I told joke. Ha 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 ha.
I get it.
Yeah.
I was not following. So I think now it is fun, but it's frustrating to not be good at something.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand. I understand. And that being said, I always hear from everybody that has been like in the podcast game and writes about it or talks about it, they always say that people enjoy authenticity. Mm-hmm. And so this is where we're going to be authentic for a second.
Oh boy.
And that is the difference between you and me. Uh-huh. You talked about paying for the
mentorship
mm-hmm. to help you learn all these different things, mm-hmm. which is sick. It's like a shortcut.
Yeah, you just learn it by. I don't have the patience I don't have the patience for it. You do have.
I just have the anxiety when I spend the money for it.
No.
But I'm telling you, we were like, we had a disagreement about the paying for a mentorship or not paying for a mentorship. And it would have saved me a lot probably of time and headache, and still would save me a lot of time and headache.
Maybe that's what you do next, is you offer podcast production mentorships.
Well. And
you charge, the people that offer photography mentorships, like you could make YouTube videos, or not YouTube videos because that's free, but.
No, but
you could go on YouTube and make videos about how to produce.
I could, and I've thought about it, but I have so much to learn that I can't be telling anybody anything.
Yeah, no.
For a while. I'm just getting little aha moments, like every weekend. I get just a tiny little aha moment.
You should start keeping a little
bit by bit
notebook of like things that you learn, what you wish you'd have known, like what would have been helpful to learn first, what would have made the process easier from the get-go as you go. That way, if you decide to teach one day and educate on podcast production.
Yeah, that would be...
Because you won't remember.
No, there's not a chance that I'm going to remember. Not even a little bit. But that I should start recording those things as I go in case that I want to do that.